I'm going to start out with one of my favorite jokes, favorite recovery joke of mine. Well, it's not mine. That's kind of the way I lived my life. You know, my friends had come to me, oh, Karen, I need help. I need help. I need your advice. Oh, yeah, okay. And there's me standing in my underwear, dunking Oreos and whiskey. Well, you came to the right place. Let's get down to it. Can somebody like me recover? Apparently, yes. I didn't think so. When I first got tricked into coming to CoDA, I was already in a 12-step program, and my sponsor decided that she wasn't an alcoholic after all, and fired all of her sponsees. And so I asked her sponsor to sponsor me because I'd always, really, really liked this girl. She had a really good program, and she had what I wanted. There was something different about her. There was something different about her. I didn't know what it was, but I wanted it. And I would do whatever she told me to do to get it. That's how I got tricked into CoDA. She has CoDA, and I didn't know that. I didn't have that. That was the missing ingredient. And as it turns out, it's almost like the cart before the horse. If I had known about CoDA, maybe I wouldn't have drank myself into alcoholism. Who knows? But that was my particular path, and that's how it goes. And here I am. So, yeah, the short answer to this question is yeah. Long answer is let's look at the promises. And I started thinking about this because, come on, slide 3. Boop, there we are. I'm technologically, I can only do so much, and I can press a button, but if it doesn't work, I'm lost. So I started thinking about the promises, and I'm thinking, well, gosh, they actually sound like they've come true for me. Let's take a look. So I went through them one by one, and I started, how did I get here? Well, how did I get to this place? My boyfriend is startled when I tell him the personality that I used to have, because I used to be completely different. I used to be a newcomer, okay? You know how newcomers are. I came to CoDA for a reason. I came to get a series of things that I could say that would make other people screw off, right? Leave me alone. Because everybody was picking on me, but that's as far as I got. So number one, I know a new sense of belonging. A new sense, because my old sense of belonging was very tenuous. I was trying to fit in wherever I could fit in. And I did try. I turned into a chameleon, made myself as much like you as possible, so you would accept me into your little group that I didn't actually belong in. I liked what you liked. I talked like you did, thought the way you thought. This is directly related to low self-esteem, which is kind of one of my big things, that and avoidance, but I'll get to that. I wasn't smart enough to be in the smart group, but you were. And I wanted to be considered smart. So I tried to join your group, and I'd fake my way in because I was not a straight A student. My sisters were, but I was not. I was more of a B minus C plus type of a student. And it occurred to me the other day, this was really odd that it occurred to me finally. I already knew that I wasn't as smart as everybody else. That was obvious. I wasn't getting to A's like my sister did. They all got straight A's. And okay, so I'm not a smart person, so I'm going to shoot for a B or a C. I didn't even shoot for an A. It's so weird that finally occurred to me. I didn't try to get an A. I was just trying not to get an F. So that's kind of the way I lived my life, apparently. And it did not start in adulthood. This started as far back as I can remember. I remember trying to make my grandparents like me rather than my sisters. And, just always competitive, always trying to get first place over somebody else, comparing myself to other people, which is always no good. I was one grade behind my straight A student sister, and I didn't fit in the way she did. She was in a marching band. She was on the dean's list. She was here. She was there. She's all over the yearbook. I'm in there one time, my obligatory picture. That's it, because I just did not fit in. But I did fit in with the stoners. Okay. I fit in with that because they don't even know you're there. So they won't ask you to leave, which was awesome. I fit in with them. But everybody else seemed happy, and I wasn't. Couldn't figure that out. But I was trying to belong where I didn't belong. I was trying to get with the fancy people. I was trying to get with the smart people. I wanted to be approved of like they were, like they obviously were, but I didn't fit in there. And as it turns out, when I joined CoDA and started questioning everything I already knew about myself, as it turns out, I have a genius IQ, which didn't help me in school because I'm not a good memorizer. I'm a logical thinker. So they're giving me all this information and I'm supposed to remember it, and it just goes in and right back out. So I didn't really do as good on tests as other people that could memorize things did. But if something made sense to me logically, it was there and it's still there. So trying to fit in where I didn't belong. What's my actual crowd? The stoners. That was my crowd because, they didn't ask me to leave. So obviously I was good with them. And so, yeah, so it was drugs first for me. And I fit in, but I was uncomfortable. Can't really explain that any better than that. Promise number 2, I'm no longer controlled by my fears. Well, when I came to CoDA, I didn't think I was afraid of anything. I considered myself courageous. Look at everything I've been through. Look at what I've walked through so far. I'm awesome. Shoot, I don't have any fear. And then we started breaking it down a bit. And my sponsor put this to me simply. This was actually my AA sponsor when I was doing my 4 steps. She said, okay, there's 2 kinds of fear only. There's 2 kinds of fear. So it's easy to break down. 1, you're either afraid you're going to lose something you already have, or 2, you're afraid you're not going to get something you think you want. That's it. So when you're doing your 4 step, just when I ask you, what are you afraid of? It's one of those 2 things. That'll help you figure it out. And sometimes it's not necessarily a thing, that material thing that I was afraid I was going to lose, like a job or something like that, but it was my status, or it was my level in society, or something. People were going to figure me out. In the groups that I was trying to fit into, they were going to figure me out and they were going to ask me to leave. Now, they never actually did that, but I wasn't comfortable in those groups and I left. I had no idea how scared I was. I always thought fear centered around physical harm, not emotional harm. But fear, as it turns out, is just a boogeyman, because every time I'm afraid of something, it's future-based. And I'm making it up. Whatever I'm afraid of, I'm afraid something is going to happen in the future, and that's not real. It's not real. I'm making it up. I'm making something up so I can be excited, negative excitement. One of my favorites, because you still get the rush. You still get the rush to your brain. It lasts for half an hour. So it's good, but it's negative. That was my comfort zone. Uncomfortable as it was, that's where I was. I knew how to do that. I was comfortable there because I knew how to manage that. And I managed it by using the patterns. The bad things that happened to me when I was a kid aren't happening anymore. So while those things did produce fear, that fear is no longer valid. When those things stopped happening, I took over. Fear and shame and pain have caused us to use the patterns and characteristics to avoid what might happen. It's not even things that are happening. I'm avoiding things that might happen. If something seems like it might go sideways, I'm out. I'm running in the opposite direction. I don't even know what it is yet. I can't take action against something when I don't even know what the topic is. But I know that if I go home for Thanksgiving, it's going to go badly. So I try to avoid going home for Thanksgiving. That's the way I operate in my life. It's not like that anymore, but I'm going to tell you how I got there. My sponsor nailed me pretty quickly. It was in the first couple of meetings. She says, well, you seem like you like to avoid things. That's your method of operation. You just avoid things so you don't have to worry about it. And I said, sure, that's, it's the laziest one. Of course, that's what I do. And she said, okay, well, for the next 90 days, I want you to start saying yes instead of no. I want you to stop avoiding things altogether. And I'm thinking, well, that doesn't sound good at all. But she's my sponsor. I picked her for a reason. She has what I want. I said, okay. And I'm still saying yes. I started saying yes to everything, even if it seemed like a really bad idea. For me, I've done some really cool things. My motto is kind of do it anyway. Yeah, that doesn't sound good. Okay, yeah, I know, do it anyway. I tell my sponsees, all, yeah, I know, yeah, just do it anyway. Do it for me, do it for fun, right? Just do it anyway, see what happens. What's the worst possible thing that's going to happen? Somebody told me about fear. They said, if you're afraid of something, write down what's the worst possible thing that could happen as a result of this. Make friends with that worst possible thing, accept that, and then you don't have to be afraid anymore. All right, so I'm running around making friends with things. I went to get my eyes fixed in Las Vegas. That's where the doctor was. I didn't pick the place. Las Vegas, not my town anymore. Lots of dangerous 24-hour drinking things there. Anyway, I was staying at the Stratosphere Hotel. They call it the Strat now. And you can jump off the top of the hotel if you want to. So it's not really a bungee thing. They attach this cord to you and it slows you down when you get to the bottom. But you can actually jump off the top. And I said, well, that's something I'm not going to do. And then here's my little voice inside me, do it anyway. Right? I don't like jumping off things. I don't like jumping off rocks into water. That's for somebody else to do. I'll watch. I'll be your archivist. I'll take pictures, but I'm not going to do that. But I thought, okay, golden opportunity. Here you are. It's here. You're here. You have enough money. Go do it. And I'll be darned if I didn't. They got all these straps on me and they're tying me up into this flight suit and all this stuff. And I'm getting excited. And I'm telling myself, don't think. When you get out there, don't think. Don't hesitate or you won't do it. And because that's apparently what happens. If you think about it, then you don't do it. So I got on this ledge and you're actually outside the top of this building on this platform and you're safety strapped in and stuff. And then they said, okay, I'm going to take the safety straps off now. Whenever you're ready to go, I'll just count you down. You can take off. I thought, sure. What? I'm still not thinking about it. Don't think. And he takes off the safety straps and says, okay, 3, 2, 1. I looked at him and I jumped right off that building like I was Peter Pan. And the effect of that was, at first I made this really weird noise. I was like, something, I don't know. And then I relaxed into it and I thought, wow, look what I just did. Look what I just did. I overcame this fear and did it anyway. And I started doing that. By the time I got to the bottom, I was in paradise. I was like, wow, if I can do that, what can't I do? If I can jump off a 100-story building and walk away from it feeling better, not worse, then what else? Let's see what else I can do. So do it anyway. Like my sponsor told me, if I come up with a really good idea, just do the opposite and I should be okay. Because my thinking got me a seat in AA and then it got me a seat in CoDA. That's as far as it got me. That's all my good thinking. That's where it got me. I am no longer controlled by my fears. I have overcome my fears and I act with courage, integrity, and dignity, not recklessness. Okay. There are places, if you want to be reckless, that's something completely different. I'm not reckless. I'm not foolhardy, but I'm acting with courage. If something seems like a bad idea, I do it anyway. And it turns out fear is the boogeyman. Fear is a boogeyman. It's not real. It's not real. It's something we tell ourselves, you should be afraid of this. But it's not real. It's made up. You're talking about things that haven't happened yet. Like it's a fact. Because I'm using my history. Let's see what else we have here. I know a new freedom. A new freedom. Wow. My old freedom, boy, did that get shut down fast. All of these things that happened to me when I was a child shaped the way I behave as an adult, obviously. But like Mary likes to say, Ken and Mary, the co-founders of Codependence, Mary likes to say, your parents, all of the behaviors that they showed to you are learned behaviors. They weren't born that way. Neither were you. All of these things, the patterns and the manipulation and the control that you started using later, you learned that. It wasn't born, you weren't born like that. We're all born very free. We don't even we don't even know our names. We don't know what language we're going to speak. But then we get told your name is Karen, you're a Methodist, you speak English, you this, you that, you're a Democrat. All this stuff, it gets told to you, it gets taught to you. And because it's an authority figure teaching you these things, it's obviously the truth. It's the law. These things are true. My mom and my dad love me. That's the truth. Well, I don't think so anymore. I don't think my mom, I don't think she liked me. I think we're a little bit too much alike for her to really like me as a person. So a new freedom is different from the old freedom. I would get when I would pull yet another geographic or start another new relationship or get another job. I would move every 6 months because people would figure me out. And I would get uncomfortable again and say, well, I'm going to have to start over. And I'm going to get a new freedom from this. I'm going to get a new lease on life, going to start over where nobody knows me. And we're going to try it differently this time. I did that with relationships, jobs, places where I lived. And I eventually just kind of stopped trying to fit in. I just knew I was not good at having relationships. So I just kind of stopped doing that. This new freedom came about when I released my past. And the only way I could release my past was working these steps. Don't kid yourself. The only way out is to work the steps with the sponsor, work the steps in a row like they're written. Just do what the program tells you to do. Please believe me on this if you're new in the program. Don't take shortcuts because I'm a shortcut person. I'm a loophole person. I decided that I was going to do this the way my sponsor suggested. And it took about 1.5 years. She was very thorough with me. I guess I was sicker than most. I like to, if I can't be the best of the best, let me be the worst of the worst. Okay. So it is amazing not being afraid of running into someone. My past is reconciled. Anything I've done wrong to anybody has been reconciled because I worked the steps and I did a thorough 9th step. So I don't have to worry about that anymore. I don't have to worry about rounding the corner and running into somebody that I did wrong. I tell the truth so I don't have to keep my lies memorized anymore. What? It's a lot simpler. It is a lot easier when I tell the truth because I don't have to write things down or remember things. I told this to so-and-so, but I told that to somebody else. That's freedom. I do what I say I'm going to do. If I say I'm going to show up and talk at this meeting, I'm going to be here. Or I'm going to have a damn good reason. I'm going to have an exposed bone or I'm dead or something. So I do what I say I'm going to do. Don't have to worry about that anymore. My mind is free of that hamster wheel of thoughts that just never seem to shut down. I was busy running the universe, and that's a full-time gig. I think it was not so much that I was trying to accomplish things, but I was trying to keep things from happening. This occurred to me the other day. I wasn't really trying to accomplish things because I knew I was less than other people. That's the way I grew up with that knowledge. And nobody told me, Karen, you're stupid, or Karen, you're chubby, or Karen, nothing like that. They didn't say those words. But my two sisters, my older and younger, straight A's, thin. So obviously I was fat and stupid. That's what I told myself. Nobody said that to me. So that hamster wheel that I had trying to figure out how to be better than other people, trying to figure out how to keep things from happening. I wasn't really trying to get an A. I was just trying not to get an F. I wasn't trying to be approved of. I was trying to not get in trouble. It's a different thing, and it's a full-time operation, full-time, because you don't even know what's coming at you until it comes. And so for me, warding off things that may or may not occur, God, wow, it's a wonder I ever slept. And when it got uncomfortable enough, that's when I turned to drugs and alcohol. It's the laziest, easiest way. If I started getting high and drinking and stuff, I felt better. Ta-da! Problem solved. And it was the solution for a very long time until I had to quit drinking. And now I'm without my source of comfort. Great. So now what do I do? Now I have to get well and healthy so I don't have a life that requires alcohol and drugs. Simple. I don't try to figure things out anymore. I really don't. And I used to have to know everything. I had to figure everything out, had to know about everything and be smart about it. I don't know why. This is real freedom. I'm going to write, I think my next workshop is going to be called The Third Option, because I've been thinking about this lately. I think we get trapped in okay, I have to make a decision to do either this or do that. I'm going to do one or the other. I need to decide one or the other. What am I going to do? The third option is neither. Okay, number one, if I'm thinking about what I'm going to do about something, who's in charge? That's me. My higher power's out of the room, uh, hopefully going to take care of somebody else because I don't need my higher power right now. I'm back in charge. So I'm deciding I'm going to do this or that. Uh, I don't know if you're all familiar with that game called Whack-A-Mole. If you see them, and for those who don't know, it's this weird. And whoever started this game, this is sick, because it's this great big panel with holes in wood holes, and a mole will pop up, and you have this big mallet that just smash this thing on the head, and it goes down. And it's like my character defects popping up, and then there's two at a time, and I'm smacking, bang and bang, trashing this thing and hard as I can, fast as I can. The object is to hit moles over the head. That's sick, but it's a game. And it never occurred to me to just unplug the machine. Okay. You don't have to play that game. You don't have to. I didn't know that. Let me tell you how I figured this out and got this new freedom. I ruined Christmas one year. I didn't mean to, and I've told this story a couple of times, but it bears repeating because I didn't realize that I had a third option. Let's see, I was a teenager. I forget what age. My past just sort of jumbles into itself. Chronologically, I'm very impaired. But I remember me and my sisters and my mom were back in the master bedroom wrapping presents for my stepdad's work. And there was like 100 of them. We're wrapping these stupid things. And mom was in a good mood that night. So we could be in a good mood. You know how you sort of tailor your mood to the person you're in the room with, whoever the authority figure is. She was in a good mood. So we were laughing and having a good time. And she had told us before we started this, don't go in the garage. Simple. Don't go in the garage. Okay. Don't go in the garage. Simple. But we'd been back there for a couple hours doing these presents and wrapping soccer balls. And so, how do you wrap a sock anyway? So we got a lot of leftover papers and all, big garbage bag full. And my mom says, take that out to the garbage. I said, okay, take that out to the garbage. That's an order. That's what I'm going to do. Walked right out there while the garbage is in the garage. And I opened the door. I had forgotten order number one. And there's my stepdad out there putting bikes together for Christmas for me and my sisters. And I froze. I was like, oh God, I just screwed up big time. I'm this, uh-oh. And he yelled at me, shut the door. Okay. Slammed the door shut. And I stood there and I remember I was frozen because here comes my mom. Now she's a little girl. She breaks 5 feet on a good day, maybe 100 pounds or so, but she could probably still kick my ass. I'm just saying. She's 91 years old. She still scares me. Okay. She's coming down the hallway and she's slamming her feet down on the ground. You know how they do that when they're really mad? They're slamming their feet down and the floor is shaking. And I'm going, man, I've done it. Because she's probably realized that she just told me to go in the garage and she heard me slam that door and she knew she made a mistake. She made a mistake by telling me to go out there. All right. I'm frozen. She comes out there and my sisters are trailing behind, very exciting. They're not in trouble, so they want to see what the deal is. And mom said, what did you see? Oh, God. Okay. I can't lie because obviously I know what's out there. She knows what I saw. I can't tell the truth because my sisters are right there and I don't want to tell them. And I'm thinking, should I do this or should I do that? And she repeats herself. What did you see? She's really mad. And her face is turning red and everything. And I know I'm about that far from getting crap beat out of me. And I can't lie. I can't lie. I don't know what okay, I'm gonna have to tell the truth. And I told her, I said, well, I saw the bikes and my sisters are like, you know, and mom freaked out. And mom got really mad at me. God, well, thanks for ruining Christmas. You could have just said you saw it. Okay. This was my upbringing, by the way, faced with choices that both were bad, untenable. But here's the thing. The third option is to ask her mom, are you sure you want me to say that out loud? That didn't occur to me because I was sick. I had a choice. I'm answering truthfully or honestly. Third option, are you sure you want me to say that out loud? I have those skills now. It's a new freedom. I'm not stuck. Just because somebody asked me a question, I don't have to. I used to stutter. I'd get so upset and so scared I would stutter. Believe it or not. It was a terrible thing because I've already ruined Christmas. I ruined Christmas. Okay. Looking back on it, she's the one that made a mistake, not me. She told me go into the garage. Okay. That's kind of illustrates what my childhood was like. Ruined Christmas that year. New freedom. I don't have to answer any question that somebody asks me just because they asked. Somebody put it nicely one. Oh, I get all my real wisdom from that said, you don't have to engage in every fight you're invited to. Okay, write that down, man. That's golden. If I embroidered, if I was any good at it, I would embroider pillows and they'd be recovery pillows all out of the house. I have these sayings on them. I release myself from worry, guilt, and regret about my past and present. I am aware enough of the past not to repeat it. It took the CoDA steps for me to realize what the truth was about my past. Even simple things like me ruining Christmas. I didn't make a mistake. My mom did. But she couldn't blame herself because she would be at fault. I was kind of the family scapegoat. And as long as there was something bad going on, I was the first person that got nailed with it. And that's what my role was. I'm going to tell you my hamburger story in a minute. I always do. It's a good story and it's a way out of trouble, when you find yourself in trouble. But I had to learn how to react normally. Sorry, I used the wrong word. I had to learn how to respond normally. When I react, that's my little child going fight or flight. Okay, it's my little child getting scared. That stuttering little kid goes, uh-oh, we're in trouble. When the adult is in charge, when my adult is in charge, then I can respond. I don't react. And I've gotten really, really good at that. I generally don't react anymore, which is awesome. Mostly because I just don't care. I don't care as much about things as I used to. Like I said, I'm not in charge of the world anymore. So I don't have to pay attention to everything everybody else is doing. That's their business. That's not for me. I had my hands in, sorry for my runny nose today. I had my hands in about 95% of the stuff that I had my hands on didn't belong to me. It just didn't. I had no business in there. I was trying to be helpful, very aggressively helpful. And along with that comes worry, guilt, and regret. So I stopped giving advice. That was my sponsor, poor thing. She had me with that 90 days say yes instead of saying no. Well, her sponsor told her, okay, you can't give advice for 90 days. She had no idea how much advice she gave until she wasn't allowed to do it for 90 days. She's thinking, this is terrible. I had no idea how in charge I was. Yeah, I get that. The remorse I felt after I discovered myself in step 4 was overwhelming at first. I thought, oh man, I'm such an ass. Who in their right mind would be friends with me? No wonder people would, shut me down and stop answering my calls. I wouldn't want to hang out with me now. I'd be running in the opposite direction because I'm smarter now. I'm a little bit healthier. I don't invite that kind of company in. I don't attract them either, which is odd, but cool. My sponsor reminded me that I simply didn't know any better. I was beating myself up a lot, especially during my 4th step, because I had a lot of regret, a lot of remorse for the way I behaved for no reason. And she said, Karen, there's no way you could have learned all this stuff. Look at your mentors. Look at your mom and your stepdad. Those were the people that were showing you how to be an adult. Were they well and healthy? Yeah, no, not even close. So, of course, you're not going to behave correctly. Now, my boyfriend is a normie. Let me explain to you what that looks like, since if you're in this room, you probably don't know. A normal upbringing is where you're obviously loved. Your parents love you. They give you affection. They nurture you. They praise you when you do right things. And if you do something wrong, you get in trouble. But that's the only time you get in trouble, when you've done something wrong. I was in trouble all the time. I was wrong all the time. That's the only thing I knew, is that I was wrong. I got that far, but that's all I could figure. But he was raised in a household where they nurtured him, they loved him. But if he did something wrong, there were consequences. And he grew up to be a normal person. He doesn't have the hurdles that I had to jump over just to try to be a healthy individual. I hate to use the word normal, but he really, really is. Okay. By the time I completed my 9th step amends, my past was completely resolved. This is the beauty of Codependence Anonymous. If you work the steps with the sponsor in a row and do the work to the best of your ability, you get freedom. You get freedom from your past. All of that stuff from your past, that's resolved because you pick it apart. My sponsor had me pick, and we did not go any further until we had thoroughly picked apart what needed to be looked at. That's all. That's why it took 1.5 years. I'm stubborn. There are certain things that I didn't want to look at. My mom, oh boy, I did a lot of work on her. She made a lot of what I would call bad calls. You know, in our childhood, she allowed things to happen and continue to happen that really shouldn't happen to little girls, you know. But getting to know her as she was raised, and as a person, rather than just mom. You know, moms are supposed to love all their children equally, and they're supposed to love you with no conditions and all that stuff. Yeah, that's not true. And I don't think my mom even liked me. As it turns out, I'm exactly like her. Exactly like her. I would have made those same decisions that she made. I hate to admit that. Doesn't make me look very good. If you know my mom, you know, you go, geez, Karen, that's bad. That's really bad. But I'm exactly like her. She made her decisions based on money, and so did I, for the most part, to my detriment most of the time. When I had previously taken a one-sided victim approach, I am now able to look at people as they truly are, as they truly were. I can go backwards and look at my mom and go, okay, yeah, I can see what was happening with her now. She was not a happy person. My mom, God bless her, she wanted maybe one child at the most. She ended up giving birth to 6. Not all of us lived. All the boys died within 2 weeks, which is really, that's terribly sad, because my dad really wanted a boy. You know, guys want a boy. But she kept having daughters, and had plenty of them. You know, there's 4 daughters and 3 boys. Oh, 7 kids. So she was full-term pregnant 7 times. She didn't even want one child, let alone 7. She wanted 1 at the most, but back at that time, they didn't have birth control. This is like in the dark ages. Now it's very simple, but no birth control. Dad didn't like condoms, so here I am. Okay, that's my only excuse for my existence. So she wanted to be a doctor, and she was going to support my dad while he went through college, and then he was going to support her while she went through her doctoral studies. And that never happened. So her life did not turn out the way she wanted it to. I don't know that she was ever truly happy at any time. And that kind of makes me sad. I almost wish that some people that I know would drink too much, you know, drink too much and get into recovery, or implode your relationship a couple of times and get into recovery. Do what you have to do. But everybody in the world can use this program on some level, for sure. Okay. Oh, this is funny. I'm now able to look at other people as they truly were. I somehow felt that all the people in the world were healthy in their own right, and they were just trying to hurt me. I had this big victim thing going on. Everybody was trying to pick on me, and everybody's trying to hurt me. That's not true. They were just being who they were, and I was perceiving danger and harm. The most prevalent feeling I have for my abusers now is sadness that they weren't driven to recovery like I was. They had no chance of having a balanced, happy life. The only thing my past hurts do for me now is help me help others. All of those things have become useful. And all of those things had to happen for me to be right here, right now. I'm very helpful to my sponsees. There isn't any area that I really haven't been exposed to. So I'm helpful in that way. The people I hurt are in my heart on a shelf. And I think about them a lot. You know, I've made my amends to everybody that I can possibly make amends to. And there's nothing else for me to do now except continue to lead a useful life. That's my purpose now. That's why I kind of, somewhere in the back of my mind, I think I'm immortal, because as long as I keep doing, you know, workshops and sponsor people and things like this, my higher power is not going to let me die. I can jump off buildings all day, right? So I'm probably a little reckless there, but you know, that's kind of the way I'm looking at this, the way I choose to see things now. And it is my choice. Okay. I am aware enough not to repeat it. Self-awareness is a great big deal in CoDA. I was spending my time looking outwards at other people's behavior, and when they would change, then I could be happy. It's not like that. I had it backwards. And I also brought people in way too close. I'm going to show you the levels of friendship that I have real quick. I wrote this up a while ago, and it's actually very helpful. Where are we? Boop, there we are. One of the problems that I had was that I would bring everybody all the way into my heart and soul. I would trust everybody instantly. As it turns out, I had that wrong too. I had a lot of stuff wrong. I wrote this up. There's like 6 levels in my opinion, and this is strictly my opinion. All relationships start out as a 1. Rather than bringing them all the way in, you're supposed to keep them way out here. I didn't know that. Okay. Everybody starts at a 1. It's a superficial level. Each level is unique and healthy relationship. It's never the goal to move someone into a 6, which is the most trusted position. That's not the goal. Each person's going to drop into a category based on their own behavior. Number 1, superficial. This is insignificant. The people that, and this is like a good 90% of everybody you know. This is everybody in the world. There are no zeros. Everybody in the world is a number 1. I'm going to attach this, by the way, in the chat if you want a copy of it, so you don't need to write this down. A superficial level, here's where everybody is. Everybody starts there. Nobody starts at a 6. Okay, everybody starts at a 1. Back them up. These people don't affect your life one way or the other. How about that? Everybody affected me, you know. Initially, everybody had something to do with my life in one way or another. Level 1 is for people you've just met. It's also for people who have been moved back from higher levels due to misbehavior. These people are strictly surface relationships. You have no expectations of them, and there are no obligations either way. You keep all of your personal information to yourself. How many other people in the room told everybody their whole life story within 5 minutes of meeting them? There we go. All right, yeah, I got some hands. All right, yeah, keep that to yourself. Okay, that's for your sponsor. Okay. Number 2 is casual. This person has moved forward from level 1 due to common ground, such as coworkers, classmates, recovery people, etc. During this probation stage, you begin to evaluate this person to determine whether they should move forward to a higher level or just stay here. Level 2 is a good level. It is. 98% of the people you know are going to be here. It's not the goal to move people forward. Actively look for and don't dismiss or make excuses for red flags. The biggest one for me is, how do they treat animals? If they mistreat an animal in any way, they're on the don't list, period. There should be 3 columns in your perspective list for people. There should be preferable. This is what I want in a person. Acceptable. That's the negotiable column. And deal breaker. Okay, deal breaker. If anything shows up in the deal breaker column, that's exactly what it says. Deal breaker. They're a 1, and that's it. They don't get pushed off the chart altogether. You can't cancel people, but they're a 1. They're superficial from that point on. How do they talk to their mother? That's important. How do they talk about their ex is also important. Are they a victim? Do they criticize you? Do they try to fix you? Do they try to isolate you? If they try to isolate you, run in the opposite direction. That person's going to end up abusing you physically. Remember that you've only met their representative. And this is the person they want you to believe they are. You have also introduced them to your representative. unless you've got some CoDA behind you. If you're well and healthy in CoDA, you're going to present yourself as exactly who you are. If not, you're going to introduce them to your representative. This is who I think you would like me to be. After 90 days minimum, recheck for red flags if you're considering moving them forward. And at 90 days, check your own behavior. Are you being authentic, or are you pretending to be someone you are not? I don't like hard jazz at all. That's the only musical genre that I really don't care for and I won't listen to. But if you like jazz, by God, I love it. You know, I don't do that anymore. I am myself. In the immortal words of Popeye, I am what I am. Okay, number 3, companionship. This is a nice level. This begins your one-on-one relationships. It's been at least 90 days. They're all probation. Platonic roommate should be at least a 3 before you consider moving in with them. I know that that's impossible these days because you kind of have to have a roommate and people match up and, you know, you meet their representative, they meet yours, and you think it's a good match. But a lot of times you get burned on that. For romantic relationships at level 3, you might start deciding whether this is a sacred or devoted relationship or just a friendship. You can begin to share personal information at this level. This is 90 days out, folks. This is not your second date. They don't need to know anything about your past or, you know, really anything like that. Not at this point. You can begin to share personal information and see what they do with it. Do they try to fix it? Do they minimize it? If your personal information is shared with others, move this person back to a 2. A level 2 is a good relationship. There's nothing wrong with that. Your relationships must be equal at each level. If your prospect has you at a 2, you must move them back to a 2. Don't move them up to a 3. If they are treating you like you're a 1 on their planet, move them back to a 1. That's where they should be. Don't be in a hurry to move someone forward. This is a nice level. You've got a ski buddy or a movie buddy or something to go do with, go to dinner with them and stuff like that. It's a nice level. You got to wait till you get all the way up to 4 just to get the friendship. Your friend has made it through the dissection of levels 1, 2, and 3. This level is a partnership between 2 people who value each other equally. It's a good time to evaluate your friend and make sure that you are a 4 with them too. If they are treating you like a 1, move them back to a 1. Codependents are famous for having unequal partners. This is more intimate than your other relationships. This is a person who feels safe to you, and you naturally spend more time with them than with others. Your sponsor will often fit in here while you're working the steps. This is a stopping point for all your non-romantic friends. I left that in there, but I don't know. Number 5 is an intimate relationship. This is different. It's a partnership. Intimate relationship, number 5. This is an equally deep partnership with shared passions, trust, and respect. Your partner must also have you at a 5. You can sit in a room without talking and be completely comfortable. Time spent together builds more trust and respect, not less. When you discuss deeply private information, you know your privacy will be respected and won't be weaponized, won't be used against you later. You can confidently take bigger risks with each other. This is a true companion. And then 6, here's the big banana. Committed partnership. This is the only level where marriage can be considered. This is a faithful, trustworthy, and fearless relationship. You're not afraid they're going to hurt you anymore. You know, this is somebody who you should absolutely know would never intentionally hurt you. Never. You both share responsibility for the relationship and you honor each other equally. Your partner must also have you at a 6. This level is for that one person you can honestly say you want to be with as long as you're both alive. I've been with my boyfriend for 17 years. It took me 5 years to put him at a 6. 5 years to put him at a 6 for certain. And he's there. And it's just us now. If he dies before I do, I'm going to get a dog. All right. Okay. That is so cool. I love doing this. This is so much fun. All right. I know a new love and acceptance of myself and others. I feel genuinely lovable, loving, and loved. Well, that was a tricky one. Apparently, when you compare yourself to other people, which is what the advertising executives have us do, so that if I compare myself to somebody else, I'm either trying to prove that I'm better than you are or reaffirm that I'm no good. Either way is it's a losing battle. So I learned to let other people be who they are. And I also learned to let me be who I am, who I actually am. I don't pretend anymore. This is me. What you see is what you get. And I always used to say that, but I was lying. I'm currently in my first childhood, which is awesome. I'm having a blast. I didn't have a childhood that I can recall, so I'm making up for it. And I recently told one of the girls that I'm working with, go buy a set of jacks. You remember the game jacks that you play with the ball and you pick up one and then two and okay, go with the golf ball. Okay, they bounce higher. But she had never played jacks before, and I'm going, well, goodness gracious, it's time for you to be a kid. You know, that's take it backwards. Don't go forwards, take it backwards. As it turns out, you don't have to be physically beautiful to be a good person. I didn't know that, because it seemed like all the beautiful people were the ones that people paid attention to, and that the ones that they counted on, and that they were the smart people. They were better than me. I remember looking in the mirror during my step work, and it occurred to me all of a sudden that I'm not going to get better looking. Okay, I'm going to get worse looking. So I better make friends with the way I look right now. So that's kind of what I did. And I thought, so to do that, I started looking in the mirror and go, it could be worse. So do whatever you have to do, but make friends with yourself. It's not on the inside or outside, rather, it's on the inside. And I shifted the importance of my outer appearance to how I look on the inside. And that's where I'm gorgeous. I am gorgeous on the inside. Outside, that's going to have to be what it is. My outside appearance was my biggest fear area. I don't look good enough to be taken seriously as a girlfriend or a mentor or a speaker. I just don't look as good as the other people. I never got, when I was in drama, I never got the lead romantic roles because I was pudgy. So I got the funny roles, I got the sidekick roles, and now I prefer those. When I do go on stage now, it's not that often, but I still love it. And I'm always the funny one. And that's where I really get, now see, all this time I was trying to fit in where I did not belong. I don't belong as the romantic lead. I belong as the one that's willing to make an ass out of themselves in public. That's me. That's that. And I'm going to be doing it again here shortly. They have what they call it up here in Incline, and the adults and kids put on a lip sync dance show for the community, and all the money stays in the community for the schools. It's a fantastic program, but I get the chance to be an ass on, in front of everybody in town. It's awesome. I've done some really funny roles. It's all, that's what I enjoy now, rather than trying to fit myself into a mold where I don't belong. Find where your people are and go with them. That's when you're going to have fun. Here's why I compared myself to other people. Accepting others as exactly who they are, because it can be tricky, because I don't have any facts about their history. I don't know what makes them up. So I judge them using my history, and I put labels on them. They're good or bad, right or wrong, smart or not smart, whatever it is. I go ahead and throw a label on them. I like to consider myself as a non-prejudiced person, but against certain people, like I call this one group of females the cheerleaders. The ones in school that you were just never going to be as good as? Those are the cheerleaders. And so, yes, I am a bit prejudiced against what I assume is going to be a cheerleader person. And I don't really do that much anymore. I probably still get a knee-jerk reaction if somebody that's a little too attractive for their own good, but I get over it pretty quickly, because I actually don't care. I really don't. I have my gifts and they have theirs. Let's see. Oh, yeah. So, for example, I use my history to judge people. Really, really loud people, they scare me. Number one, I just thought they annoyed me, but they really scare me, because in my house, it was very quiet, because you just did not want to get noticed. Okay, you'd spent your whole time trying not to get noticed, because if you did, you'd get nailed with either a work assignment or a punishment of some sort. So you just stayed out of the picture as much as possible. So for me, and I just lost my train of thought. Oh yeah. So for me, quiet house. very important. So I'm a quiet person. I do have an inside voice. A lot of people don't. And they're, but I don't know anything about them. I don't know why they don't have an inside voice. Sometimes they were raised in a family that had to outshout each other to get noticed. I don't know. I don't know anything about them, but I judge them as too loud because they're scaring me. Me, a loud voice or a barking loud voice means danger. I don't react that way anymore. It takes something very startling to get me to react that way now, but I used to. Once I figured out what it was from, that it represented fear to me, that meant somebody was in trouble when I'd hear that loud barking voice. And okay, all right, yeah, so that's not valid. It's not valid. That's from my childhood. That's not happening anymore. This is a different thing. Go ahead and yell. When I'm in a place where I know there's going to be a lot of people, I put in earplugs. And it takes the level of noise down just enough to where it does not bother me and it doesn't startle me. So that's me adjusting so that everybody else can be who they are. Let's see. I feel genuinely lovable, loving, and loved. I do. I've actually gotten to know myself really well. I have some very nice characteristics now because I don't use the old ones anymore. I try not to. All those patterns that I used as a way of getting by when I was a kid are no longer valid. So I don't use them, or I try not to. Every once in a while, I'll drop into it. Usually when somebody catches me off guard. Okay. I learned to see myself as equal to others. You know how? I don't compare myself to other people. My new and renewed relationships are all with equal partners. Going back to that levels of friendship, equal partners is important. The way you treat somebody else should be the way they're treating you as well. It should be equal. We have a tendency to either pull people behind us or get dragged by somebody else, depending on whether I need them to be God or if I'm playing God. So if I drop both of those roles and just have an actual higher power, then my relationship with the people down here on earth are equal. Nobody's any better or worse than I am. I used to be intimidated by people that I thought were smarter than I am. But I'll tell you, I know a guy who's really, really smart, incredibly smart. He's in the top 0.5% of the world smart, but can barely function on his own, can't tie his own shoes, but he's got an IQ that's like way out there. So rather than compare myself to him, I just say, how am I doing? Am I smart enough? Do I know what I need to know? Yes, I do. I'm technologically smart enough to share a screen. I can do that. I can put together a spreadsheet. I'm not great at it, but I can put the things that I need on there, and that's what I need to know. If I need to know more, I'll ask somebody and get some help. But for me, I know what I need to know. I'm not a great cook, but I'm not a bad cook either. Make a mean can of chili, I can tell you that. But there are other people that cook better than I do. Great. I invite them over to cook for me. That's my solution. Okay. I just threw a Super Bowl party and I got all kinds of leftovers from everybody else's food. I'm like, yay, all right, good food. It's okay. It's not one of my gifts though. Gardening is not a gift of mine because I'm lazy. I just don't pay attention to that as much as other people do. That is not a defect. That is not a failure of mine. Somebody else has that gift. We can't have all of them. Look at what you do have rather than what you don't have. So yeah, I am equal to others, not in the way that I used to judge that though. I am not as good of a cook as somebody else. That doesn't mean I'm not equal to them. We're just human beings. We're just bouncing around on the planet trying to do the best we can with what we've been given. That's it. And in that sense, yeah, I'm equal to everybody else. I tend to hang out with recovery people because we are in the same boat. I don't care where you're at on your path, whether you're still moving forward or you're going backwards or you sat down out of frustration, we're still on the path of being true human beings. So yeah, I'm equal to you. Okay. I always had to do everything best, but it was that jack of all trades, master of none. I was never good at everything. I always wanted to be though. I don't need to be the best anymore. And I don't need to be the worst either. I am capable of developing and maintaining healthy and loving relationships. Wow. The need to control and manipulate others will disappear as I learn to trust those who are trustworthy. Wow, that's cool. like I said, I used to be in charge of the universe, full-time gig, man. That's a busy, busy life. I don't control or manipulate others. Everybody gets to be who they are. And truly, like with a boss or something like that, if they start showing up with some misbehavior, I'm grateful that they showed me that. Thank you. Thank you for letting me see that. I appreciate that, because you're a 2 and that's the most you're ever going to be. And it's okay. It's okay if somebody is a 2 and not a 6. You might have 1 or 2 6s in your life. But really no more than that. I started out with everybody at a 6. Come on in, all are welcome, open borders, right? And then I would, as they disappointed me, then I would move them backwards. Well, that's the wrong way to go about it. You got to check them out first. I used to say, okay, well, that person's paying attention to me, therefore I like them. They might not be a good person. I didn't even decide that. I didn't know anything about them. But now I check them out first. And if they're in recovery. The people that I tend to hang with are in recovery, because they're at least trying. There's a lot of people in the world that don't even know there's something wrong with them. Just like me, right? I thought I was totally fine. I just had this itty bitty drinking problem. And once that went away, I was going to be good to go. Yeah. So not true. I always used to try to hang with the beautiful people, like I said, the smart people, the accomplished people, but I never fit in with them. The people I fit in with now are the recovery people. We're on the same path. No wonder I was uncomfortable. I was always one down. That one up, one down thing. Even if that wasn't true, I felt it was true. Once I learned not to automatically trust people, I was more able to meet that person on the level where they belonged. And everybody starts at a 1. Everybody. Don't dismiss red flags. I've dismissed some crazy red flags. Oh my God. When I think back on it, I'm like, wow, that was really stupid. I mean, I'm just saying that was stupid. But how is my imagination making my current situation okay or acceptable? If you have disregarded somebody's red flags, that means you're using your imagination with that person to pretend they are someone else. You are pretending that they are the person you need them to be, so you can disregard that red flag and make an excuse for them. They don't even have to make the excuse. I did it for them. It's very convenient for anybody who wanted to have a relationship with me. All they had to do was show up. I did the rest. So, it was pretty lazy. How is mine? Let me see. Oh, and it occurs to me when somebody says they need me. Oh, I need you. I need you. Okay, for what? What do you need me for? Let's be specific here. I might be willing to compromise, but if you need me just for money, if you need me just for sex or whatever, let's just say that out loud so we know where we're at. But that whole, oh, but I need you thing, I question that stuff now. The word love is a sticky area for me. It's more of a power word, because I know when I use the word love, I had a reason for it. Yeah, but I love you. It's usually precluded with a but I love you, and it didn't. That wasn't true. I was just afraid that you were going to leave. So I'm pulling out all of my resources, but I love you. That's those love bombs that narcissists throw out. It's not real. I question that word altogether. Okay. But now I'm capable because of CoDA. That's the only reason I'm capable. I learned that it's possible to mend, to become more loving, more intimate and supportive. I thought I was doing too much of that. And that was the problem. That's not the problem. I was attaching myself like a barnacle to the people that I should not be attaching myself to. Okay. Yeah, and it was all fear. It was just fear. I was afraid of being alone, although I liked being alone. It's a sort of living in a contradiction all the time. Couldn't figure my own self out, but I was going to help you figure yourself out so that you could be better to be. It was all about me all the time. I have a choice of communicating with my family in a way which is safe for me and respectful of them. Can you imagine? Like I said, going home for Thanksgiving, I used to throw up before I got there because I would be so upset by just the idea of it. Now I go home and I don't have a problem, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I don't go home as a child anymore. I don't go home as the scapegoat that I was. I go home as an adult. And adults don't get pushed around. They don't get scapegoated. They don't get gaslighted. They don't get all that stuff that other people do to keep you in the position that you were in as a child. That doesn't work anymore. And they know it. It took a little while, took some practice, but because they need you to be where you were. That's your role. They need you to stay there so that the family can keep functioning as it did. And you step out of that role and people react in a different way. But the main idea there, you need to quit your job. Whatever your job was when you were growing up, quit that job. Stay out of the drama triangle as much as possible. Very easy to drop into that. Okay, there we go. The drama triangle is perpetrator, victim, and rescuer. Try to stay out of that, whichever role you typically find yourself in when you go back home to see the fam. Quit whatever job you have. That's the only way this is possible. If you want to communicate with your family in a way that is safe for me and respectful of them, you're going to use I statements instead of you statements. If you start your sentence with a you, they're going to immediately jump on the defense. So start practicing I statements. Terribly difficult in the beginning. Now I come up with them just, but the first one I did took me 10 minutes to write it down. I'm thinking, I don't, I think you're a butthead is not an I statement. Okay. It's true, but it's not an I statement. Okay. But that's the way I started. All right. Now, let's see here. I acknowledge that I'm a unique and precious creation. This is important because I kept trying to fit in with everyone else, try to be like them so that I could become part of their group. That's not the point. I am who I am specifically, and each one of us is different. Each one of us was raised a little bit differently. Each one of us has different experiences that we're drawn from. If we're using our history to decide what we should do now, if we got a bad history, we're going to make bad decisions. What was that? Oh, I saw this again, Facebook. That's the wealth of wisdom there. It says you play stupid games, you get stupid prizes. Okay. So that's the way I spent my life, and I got booby prizes all the time. So I acknowledge that I am completely unique. I am similar in many ways to recovery people, very similar. But those are the people that I'm most similar with. But each one of us is a little bit different. Good, bad, right, wrong, better, worse, labels. Stop using labels. I am not better or worse than anyone. My biggest downfall was comparing my insides to other people's outsides. I didn't know what that meant for a long time, so I dismissed it outright until I started thinking about it. And I would look at other people and they looked happy. They looked like they had it all together. They appeared just perfect. They appeared to have what I wanted. What was missing inside me, they appeared to have that whole thing. Well, I don't know anything about those people. So I'm making the assumption that, gosh, if I had as much money as they did, I'd be happy too. That's a lie. You don't have any idea about that. Believe me, some of those people are the most unhappy you'd ever want to meet. I'd rather be just me with the gifts that I have than try to arts and crafts, for example. Oh my goodness, that's one of my areas that I'm just no good in. And God bless me, I try origami. We did this whole thing in this classroom and everybody's folding at the same time and they're instructing and all that stuff. Mine looked like a gargoyle. I don't know what it was supposed to be. Everybody else's looked great, but mine. Okay, so that's not my gift. Okay, I accept that. I can appreciate that gift that other people have. I love arts and crafts and seeing how clever people are to make things out of this and that. I don't bother trying that anymore because I'm just going to upset myself. It doesn't look like the picture, that'd be good on my tombstone. It never looked like the picture, but it's okay. I don't need to be good at arts and crafts. I don't need to be a master chef. Okay. I'm going to have to just be me. I have lots of gifts that aren't necessarily other people's. Okay, unique. Oh yeah, maybe if I was a manager, people would respect me. Yeah, if I had that title, people would think I'm smart. Yeah. Mary is really big on what I think shapes how I feel. This is important. She repeats it all the time. What I think shapes what I feel. If I think I'm stupid, I am stupid. I'll prove it. You know, if I don't think I'm smart or stupid, this is how I am. This is it. Don't compare myself to other people. Don't label myself. I'm good to go. I am a unique and precious creation. I'm a useful person now. After years of being completely useless, I have a place in the world. Now I finally found it. And it ties right in to the next one. If I can click on this properly. I no longer need to rely on others to provide my sense of worth. I know who I am. I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm not so good at. And I go with my strengths. I don't lead with my chin anymore. I want to feel like other people look. Not anymore. I'm no better or worse than anyone. I'm different. I'm different. You know, I used to label things good, bad, right, wrong. Now I just say they're different. They do things differently than I do. It doesn't mean they're right or wrong. Other people's motives have become suspect to me. If someone says they love me, I remember how I used to fling that word around. And I remember why I said it, you know, so, and I watch out for the loop. There is a loop that we get trapped in when we're not paying attention, especially in relationships. Stage one is denial. Here comes the patterns right here, denial. I make excuses for red flags that pop up. When you're brand new in a relationship, oh, that one's minor. That's no big deal because I'm, you know, going forward with this. They show me their representative. I show them mine. Stage two is compliance. I'm starting to see little problems, little shortcomings. So I try to help them become who I thought they were to begin with by manipulation, control, using the patterns. I ignore my intuition at all costs using avoidance. It's easy to do. You just disregard the whole thing. Stage three, low self-esteem shows up. What am I doing wrong? Not them. What if they're not a good person to begin with? What if you've hooked up with a narcissist, but you're still blaming yourself? I was really easy to gaslight. What did I do wrong? I'm going to try harder. Stage four, control. Either I leave or they leave. I make a plan for my next relationship so I can do better and make it work. I'm going to make it work. Decision. Do I get healthy and work the program, or do I go back to stage one? Here we go again. You can get out of the loop anytime you want to. I trust the guidance I receive from my higher power. This is cool. If I'm playing God, how am I going to have a God? Now, my higher power is not the traditional religious God, which is fine. I finally got one that I can relate to and that actually likes me. So that's cool. I always thought I was just along for the ride in my life. I thought I was helpless, hapless, hopeless, and all these things were happening to me, and I was helpless. But my higher power tells me I had choices. Just because I didn't get an A, that doesn't mean I got an F, and that means every single area of your life. If you stop shooting for this, swinging for the fences, I believe it's called, if you stop trying to get a home run every time, just be who you are, you're going to be a lot happier, and you won't feel bad about yourself as much. In the beginning, I took the advice of my sponsor. She told me anytime you get a good idea, just do the opposite and you should be okay. The reason she told me that is because my ideas were bad. My ideas were based on control, controlling the situation and other people to be what I wanted it to be. And also, let me see, I started doing what was contraindicated. Whatever I thought was probably not a good idea, I did that. Because if I thought it was a good idea, I'm using my old thinking. And my old thinking netted me a temporary fix only. Do it anyway. Don't be afraid to go against your nature. We have to live abnormally for a while. Doesn't feel right. You know, it doesn't feel comfortable because our comfort zone is very dysfunctional. The only time I need to reach out to my higher power is when I'm not practicing acceptance. That's a big one. If I'm not practicing acceptance, I'm practicing one of the patterns. There's no fence time here. If I am not practicing acceptance of the situation, thing, person, place as being exactly the way it's supposed to be right now, then I'm practicing a pattern. I'm trying to change it. And if I tell my higher power that my life needs changing, they go, really? Well, maybe a curveball is what you need, you know. I don't pray about that stuff anymore. I just say, okay, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to test you on that one. Okay. A leap of faith is not from point A to point B. A leap of faith is just simply off point A. That's a little difficult for control freaks, which is, kind of what we're in the business of. And if I can't see the end result, why am I going to jump off this cliff? That's ridiculous. But when I jumped off that building, I had a cord attached to me and I made sure he yanked it to make sure it was good. Okay, off we go. I'll take the leap. I gradually, well, actually, let me hold on just a moment. I'm going to talk about thinking versus intuition just for a moment. I was thinking about this the other day. Let me find it. Okay. Here's the difference between my thinking and my higher power's thinking. Thinking, the definition of thinking is an arrangement of ideas that allows humans to make sense of, interpret, represent, or model the world they experience, and to make predictions about that world. What does that mean? That means we're making stuff up. Predictions. It's also we're interpreting that the whatever it is to our benefit, to either to our benefit or to say that we're better or worse, to be one up or one down. That's what I was trying to find. To interpret something, we need to be, that means we're trying to be one up or one down. Before we train our thoughts to be in the present moment and not fear-based, our thinking has been based on past experiences, old tapes and old ideas. That's all we have to refer to. This is what everyone does. The difference between us and healthy people is when they draw on their old experiences, it's a good thing. When we draw on our old experiences, it's a bad thing. Okay, we weren't raised right. We just weren't, or we wouldn't be here. Intuition is different. Intuition is your higher power. The definition of intuition, it's the ability to acquire knowledge without using the process of reaching logical conclusions based on things already known or things that are assumed to be true. When you assume something, you're making it up. Intuition does not explain itself. It's that thing, that's that idea that shoots into your brain. You will feel inspired or not to do something or not with no explanation attached. Intuition is not compelling. Your thinking will convince you to do something, but intuition doesn't do that. Intuition is easily pushed aside with no argument. And intuition feels lighter than thoughts. When you have a thought, you make a small effort to think that thought. It's a determined action. Intuition just pops into your head effortlessly, like it's out of nowhere. That is your higher power communicating with you. When you're wondering, should I do this or should I do that? That's you being a higher power. I'm thinking about this. I'm going to work this out in my own head. I'm going to decide what is best for me. That's you being God. If you let go of that thinking process and go, okay, well, my best ideas usually get me in trouble, so I'm just going to wait until I'm inspired. And then intuition will shoot into your head. I had one time. God, and that's just, it comes at the worst moments. There was, I was angry one day at work. This is when I worked in a hotel. I worked as a receptionist, and it was super noisy where I was. These salespeople were right outside the door, and they're very loud, again, with the loud, right? And they're running up and down the halls, having a good time, and they're like children. And they made me angry, and I yelled at them, would you shut up? And left for the day not feeling great, but they were wrong, and I was right, and that was the end of it. Next day I went to work, and as I'm walking down the hall, here comes this intuition right in this ear, says, do it now. And I knew what that meant, and I went upstairs and apologized because they were just being who they were. They were disturbing me. I hadn't figured out the earplug thing yet, which I did right after that. But I apologized to them for embarrassing this one girl in particular. I said, I probably embarrassed you. I'm sorry that I was out of line to do that. They all apologized to me. What was funny about it, the girl that I was going to apologize to was standing in her office with every single other person that was there that day. I'm like, okay, now I get the do it now thing. Great. I apologized. I did it anyway. Apologized to her for my behavior. Everybody else apologized to me, and they treated me differently from that day on. That's not why I apologized, but we had a different relationship after that. Because I didn't use my thinking. My thinking told me she's wrong, you're right, don't you dare apologize to her. So I listen to my intuition now instead. It's better. It comes out better. Okay. That's my higher power doing what I can't do for myself. I gradually experience serenity, strength, and spiritual growth in my daily life. Gradually means this is a learned thing. It's not going to just like that. Higher power is not going to smack you with a serenity wand. This is something that you're going to have to work towards. And it's every day. It gets a little bit easier, a little bit easier. Lead with curiosity instead of defiance or fear. Lead with curiosity. I can't be in fear and be curious at the same time. Let your life unfold like it's supposed to, rather than thrashing your way up to something that you're not supposed to have. And this is a really good one. A friend of mine said, if you want to learn patience, go stand in the longest line at the grocery store. Do something that you wouldn't do. If you want to learn patience, put yourself in a position where you need patience. That's how you learn that. That's what my higher power does for me. He puts me in the long line every once in a while if I need to learn something that I don't already know. And I pay attention. I go with my instincts because my thinking is bad. It's gotten me nothing but grief. So that is how I know that the promises have worked out for me. Everything is different now. I don't judge people the way I used to. I'm not perfect at this. I don't judge people anymore. I don't compare myself to other people anymore. That is not necessary. I am perfectly acceptable just as I am. I don't need somebody else's approval or disapproval of me anymore. And that is really, that's all I have to share today.